It's time for this week's UpLift. 3 ordinary guys that want you to find the freedom that is available by knowing our Lord Jesus Christ. So sit back and enjoy UpLift, brought to you by the Fulcrum Center. Visit our site at thefulcrumcenter.org.
Well, good evening, everybody. And if you're watching on camera, you can see that we've picked up a couple special guests, and we're in a totally different recording environment tonight. And so welcome to UpLift, and we got a couple special guests. If you're listening and you're not watching, we're in a special location with a couple special guests tonight. So we have Phil Bliss, myself, Chad McLeish. We have a special guest, World War II veteran Wayne Hill. We got Chad Farmer and Ian Thornton. So welcome to UpLift.
Welcome.
And so we want to get right to our special location and special guests tonight. We're going to hand it over to Chad Farmer, and Chad's going to explain where we are and what we're going to talk about tonight.
Good evening, folks. Afternoon, morning, whatever time I guess you choose to watch this. I guess it really doesn't matter. But we're broadcasting from Community Coffee and Tea here in Bel Air. That's we're currently working on and getting closer and closer to opening. But those of you who are faithful and listening or watching, I think episode 68, they had asked me to appear on, and we discussed how God was working through our lives in terms of changes and whatnot. And as a result of that show, Chad and I was having a sidebar conversation and talking about things. And I had mentioned in there about the community center that's ran across the street from the coffee shop by the county that has 26 senior apartments above it. So the director over there I'm longtime friends with, and she had told me that she has a senior over there that's 95 years old. And I'm like, really? And she said he's been chomping at the bit to see the place.
It's
and
awesome.
Here he is in the flesh. So she says, I want to call him up. And she said, would you take him over and take him on a tour? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. So she called him up, and the next day I walk in, and he's got the hat on and he's ready to roll. And bring him over here and strike up a conversation, and immediately, you know when you connect with somebody, and it's like, man, like I don't know about you guys, and Wayne and I chuckle about this now, and later on I was just like, I think I mentioned it before, like I don't really know too many people that are 95, and we laugh about it, and Wayne's like, well, neither do I. And, so as the result of it, come to find out he's a Christian man, and just the stories and testimonies that we're able to share. He's a World War II vet, and just over the last couple of months, we've formed a wonderful friendship, and I'm just really incredibly blessed at how the Lord's worked through that. And just as the result of this place not opening, it's allowed me some time and freedom to be able to go over and see him and talk to him in just a short period of time. Just grown to love him. And we like to harass each other. There's a lot of banter back and forth, but in the same token, we talk about how God's worked in our lives and continues to, and we pray together, and I can't say enough good things about it. So, Wayne, anything you got to say, buddy?
The best thing for me to say right now is good night. The way you're building the program there, man, you're driving me crazy. I will admit, when I come in, first thing he said to him was, sit down on the couch. I said, I can't. He said, why not? I said, I can't get up. I sit down. I can't. I have to have something to get me up. Well, he got me to sit down. He said, how you like the ceiling? I said, I want a cup of coffee. How you like the lights? I want a cup of coffee. We don't make coffee here. We can't get it done for you. And after a little while of just sitting there talking, the conversation kind of died. And how religion came up, I don't know. I'm glad it did. But he looked at me and he said, can I pray with you? And I said, yes. He prayed, I prayed. That was our first meeting, the first time I met him. And it's grown since. It steamrolls now. I mean, I'm blessed by so many people in so many ways from the good Lord looking down on me that I can't explain it. I can't thank enough people for what God has done in my life. And right now is another day, another blessing, and I've met you three.
Yeah.
I screwed you. I found out earlier that I met this gentleman before when he labored for me. And I'll let him explain that if he wants to. But it's just, I believe in faith. I've got more faith than I know what to do with. But I sometimes question it, which I guess we all do. But I tell Chad that place is going to open, it's going to be just, don't worry about it. Pray about it, give it to him, and step back and do what he tells you. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
I will now quit talking and relax for a few moments.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, but there's just so many conversations that we have, Wayne and I, and we talked about, in particular, I can remember Wayne wanted to go to the bank one day. His chauffeur, which is his neighbor, and she helps him out a lot, and they have a wonderful relationship, and she was kind of laid up. She had some surgery, and he needed to get to the bank, so I said, hey, I'll take you out. And I said, well, when's the last time you've been to lunch, somewhere? And it's been a little while, so we decided, hey, I'll agree to take you if you let me take you to lunch. And okay, he agreed, and we had went out and did his banking and stopped and had lunch and had a great time. And just on the way back, I don't even know how the conversation got started, but just really fascinated by. Wayne, at 16, Wayne, you joined the Navy, and during World War II, and just fascinated by that as a vet myself. Always intrigued by that, and there's always that kind of camaraderie that just exists. And one of the things that we had talked about, we often refer to his generation as the greatest generation.
Yeah.
And just the response out of him and hearing it from somebody that's lived that life, that point of view was just, it was fascinating to me. And I hope Wayne doesn't mind sharing what we had talked about, how different it was from before the war and after the war. And in particular, I think about it now, I've got 3 kids and I've got 2 sons, and 16 years old, he quit school and joins the Navy for one, and then, but what really intrigued me was the difference that he had talked about how things were before the war and after the war. If you care to talk about it, Wayne.
Well, it came up, I guess, about the condition, the country, the world today. And I said, if you're hunting for blame, my generation caused it. And he looked at me and said, well, I said, my generation was the cause of it. We all come out of the service tired of being bossed, tired of being do this, do that, and we said, we're just not going to do it. We're going to do it my way. My way don't work. Our way doesn't work. If it's not his way, it's no way. But it just steamrolled after that. My generation's children picked up what I taught them, and just what we have today, a mess, a real mess. Because I wasn't driven to church, but I was told by my parents to go to church. They went with me. But at least they got me in church, which changed my attitude in life later. I didn't think this was a couple of years ago, I guess. I've gone through so much sometimes it's just all rolling around here. But my generation, if we would have come out the way we went in, it'd been a different world today, but we all changed. We all changed for the worse.
Yeah.
In some minor way, we went down, not up, when we come out of service.
Yeah, there was a couple of interesting things that was highlighted to me, and you just talked about in that conversation. Just even the police and stuff. You didn't mess around in those times. And things kind of changed after the war, where
we were tired of being bossed. I guess that's the only word I can say. Although we asked to do it, then when we're doing it, we don't like it.
Yeah, and the other thing that you had mentioned. Yeah.
This sounds like it happens around my house sometimes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I bet it does in your house, Ian. Yeah. But and the other thing that really intrigued me that he had talked about was, Wayne grew up on Wheeling Island, and he had told me, he said, in those days, if you ever wanted to look for people or you needed help with anything, it didn't matter what it was, You just walked into any church. It didn't matter what denomination, but there was people there, and you could always find help. And that, started to change after the war, and, it's come to the point now where it's kind of one of the last places you look for people, let alone help, is in some of the churches. And I just found that to be fascinating. You remember that conversation, Wayne?
I remember all our conversations.
Yeah, you do.
I try to.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think it's just a real testament to how our country has changed and how things have just become so, man, I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it, but times have changed definitely and kind of moved away from the Lord and what really church is all about, in my opinion. So.
Yeah.
So I got a question, Wayne. What kind of ship were you on? A destroyer?
I was not.
You were not on a ship?
I was not on a ship. Believe it
Okay.
or not, 3.5 years in the Navy, never saw the sea.
Really?
It just happens, and one of the things, you go where the government sends you.
Yeah.
I was to go aboard the aircraft carrier, got to Seattle,
Okay.
and they took 12 of us out of that group and sent us back to ordnance school for more ordnance training.
Oh,
And in
okay.
the meantime, the war changed, our ordnance training again went haywire, and I just went back and forth between Seattle and Warren, Oklahoma. Back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, wow.
Then the war ended, and I'm in Seattle, and they make a master of arms out of me, and I run a police station for a while. That's just the way it went.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see the sea.
Yeah.
So coming from a guy that spent quite a bit of time on the sea with the Navy, I don't know. Yeah.
But-
Be careful what you wish for.
Now, there is a story to this, and it's going to go back to 1936.
Okay.
The flood of 1936. I lived on South Broadway Street on Wheeling Island. And my dad and my brother were out doing making their livelihood, and they didn't know whether they'd be back in time to move us out of the apartment to drier ground, and they didn't. They got stuck. Now the water's around 48 foot, the radio's still working, and we're listening, and they're saying we cannot predict, we just know it's going to be more than 50 foot before it crests, and if you can get off, get out now. Well, we're down on the south end of the island, no way to get out. And lived on the second floor, and I hear this banging on the side of the house. I said to my mother, somebody's knocking on the house. Had outside entrance to the house. She went out, looked down the steps. There's a man in a rowboat down there. He was hitting the side of the house with his oar. And he hollered, boy, is your mother home? And I said, yeah. She went out, talked to him for a few minutes, said, Dad sent him to get us off the island. He's going to take us out in this boat. And I'm looking at the little rowboat, and I'm saying, there ain't no way this is going to happen.
Yeah.
We go down, we get in the boat, and he's ready to pull out into the current, and he said, where'd that lady go? My mother was gone. I said, I don't know. Still look up, and she's coming back down the steps. She gets in the boat. She's got a hat on. The man looked at her and he said, you know, I'm going to have a tough row. This is going to be hard, up current. And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out this bottle of whiskey. He said, would you mind if I have a nip? Well, my mother despised booze that you wouldn't believe. And she said, if you think you need it, yeah, go ahead. He took his gulp, and I mean, I can't believe how he strained and pulled on that oar against current for about 12 blocks. You remember the old steel bridge in Wheeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get us to the steel bridge where we were picking up survivors, I guess.
Yeah.
My dad was standing there, and my brother. My dad said, how'd you like your trip, son? I said, I never want to see water again.
Yeah.
6 years later, I'm in the Navy. There's weird things in my life. It doesn't make sense. But later on, I asked her why she went back upstairs and put a hat on. She said, son, in those days, a lady didn't go out without a hat on. If she knew she was going to meet a stranger, they had to be wearing a hat. Now, I knew that this man was going to get us off the island. My face said, go put your hat on, you're going to meet a stranger. That's what she did, went up and put the hat on. Faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a faith story.
Yeah.
Her faith, maybe not mine. At the time it was hers, and it worked.
Yeah, all these years later, though, Wayne, I think the whole important part of it is you still recall it as a real testimony of your mom's faith.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about in our conversations, your mom sang hymns at the kitchen sink, and she was a real light in your life. Yeah. Thank God for her.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And how amazing to have that experience and to see her live out her faith.
Yeah.
And now, these years later, her faith is being shared and talked about, that other people can listen and hear.
It's hard for them to believe, but it's there. If you don't have faith, I can't tell you. I have it. I just can't do it.
No.
But it's
right. But we can share about people's faith. And like you said, Wayne, we can't force them to choose it, but we can certainly tell about it. And it's just amazing to hear stories of faith from 1936 that are still being spoken today. And it's really amazing. Really amazing.
Well, the whole part about that particular flood, do you remember the Wheeling Tabernacle? Anybody here?
No.
It was on Belair, the north end of Wheeling Island, J.P. Lehman's Wheeling Gospel Tabernacle.
Okay. I don't know.
The flood of 1936 washed it away. It took about a half a dozen houses off of Wabash Street and then with them when it left.
Wow.
And the strange part about this is my sister married one of the musicians who played in the orchestra in that tabernacle, but nobody remembers the tabernacle. And if you get back in history somewhere, you're going to see it going down the river. They got pictures of it. Pictures of it going by.
Yeah.
So people may not remember it sitting there, but they're going to remember it floating down the river, right?
I think there's a fire training station on that spot right now on the north end of the island.
I'm not sure.
That was a big tabernacle at one time.
Yeah.
L.P. Lehman, I'll never forget the name.
Yeah, well, that brings up another point, Wayne. We was talking one day, it was something that I had, that was a question that was posed in Sunday school for me. It was talking about spiritual places and how places, do you have a place that's in particular that you consider spiritual? And, for me or you, or we all have different places, and we had a couple of people that was sitting in on that discussion that talked about going to Israel and being baptized in the Jordan River and all that stuff. And I had posed that question later on to Wayne, and he had mentioned, that Wheeling Island Tabernacle. Yeah, do you remember that, Wayne? Yeah. Yeah, then he remembers it.
The place was packed night after, 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
Really?
Kept it packed.
Isn't that something?
Years ago, do you feel like people went to church more than they do
Oh,
now?
I know they did.
Yeah.
I can remember looking just out the window, living in North Wheeling, and seeing everybody going to the North Street Methodist Church, which isn't even there anymore, but there'd be crowds going in. And if they didn't have, they'd come on up to the Catholic Church, on up the street, but it was packed every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've taken up enough of your time now.
No, I'm gonna keep bothering you.
I think people are going to enjoy hearing your side of the story.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's side is different. There may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 4 different ones than mine. I'm willing to listen, glad to listen. I'm enjoying this. It's another blessing in my life right here, right now.
We feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
We feel the same way.
your story's going to bless a lot of people. A lot of people don't have the opportunity. I was talking to a young boy at work. He's a real good boy that works for me at work. And I asked him, I said, have you ever met a World War II veteran, for someone from that generation? And he said, no. He said, a lot of these young people don't know what it was like to talk to people who was in the war. My grandfather was in the war. I'm sure we all probably have had experiences talking to people like yourself who lived in that time, in the Great Depression and all that sort of thing. Do you have any stories from the Great Depression of anything like that? You lived on the island and grew up in the Great Depression.
Yeah, well, maybe this isn't a story I should be telling now. But during the Depression, home brew was well known and well made by a lot of people. 428 South Broadway Street, second floor. Bathroom to the left as you went in the building. My dad had a crock. And the apartment caught on fire one night. The firemen come up, got the fire out quick, because they didn't want to leave without their crock, and they made some excuse to get that keg of beer out of the house and took it with them.
Yeah.
My dad just saying, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes.
Oh, wow.
A little different times.
Yeah, different times.
Different times.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would, once in a great while, make root beer in it. He didn't make beer constantly. Sometimes root beer would come out. And I had the job of capping the bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the cappers? Anybody remember the bottle cappers? You manually put the cap on the bottle and push it down and
Yeah.
lock it on. That was my job.
I remember as a just a little boy that my dad would make root beer in a Coleman cooler. Remember the green ones,
Yeah.
yellow ones
Yeah.
and stuff? He would make root beer in a Coleman cooler. And then he had me downstairs in the basement capping those bottles too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would explode, sometimes they wouldn't.
Yeah, he didn't tell me about that till after one of them did. But yeah, it was, it was just something that he, that's one of the things that he
Yeah.
shared and passed along with me, which is just, great memories.
Yeah.
Great memories.
Yeah.
There's probably more, but right now I can't think of any.
Yeah, different times. No fast food. There's
No,
fast
no.
food. No McDonald's to go to. Yep.
No.
There's nothing fast about fast food anymore.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the good Lord's looking and watching all this going on, and his timetable is clicking around.
Yeah.
So it's got to come to that point one of these days where this is where it stops.
Yep.
But I want to be here for the celebration to go when it's going. I want to go that way. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say amen. Amen to that.
That's right.
Yeah, well, Wayne and I talk about that, and we talked about that earlier today, that the Lord has blessed him with just such a sharp mind and a great memory, and the Lord is keeping him around for, so many reasons, and I'm really grateful for it, I get to come down and pick his brain, and we just have fun together, drink a cup of coffee and just...
When you got coffee.
Well, you didn't have any in your apartment this morning either, let's not forget.
Yeah.
But, it's just, I enjoy it, and I know Wayne does, and, I've said this before, but, God never puts two people together. It's never a one-way street, there's always something to take from each other, and
That's right.
Wayne and I appreciate each other, and we're just blessed by how God works. Yeah, I mean, that goes to say for all of us.
Yeah, what an amazing time and opportunity. I'm so glad to see you again. Since we had a chance to, we
Been
crossed
5 years or something, but
we've crossed
you're
paths
not carrying a
before.
box of groceries for me, but.
Well, if I would have been carrying one in here, then you really would have recognized me. But yeah, it's just really neat, and I love to watch God intersect our lives.
Yeah.
He's like you said, Wayne. The Lord is looking down and He's watching all these things happen and what's taking place and all. But He's looking down on His kids.
Yeah.
And He's like, I want these two to meet, and I want these these two kids of mine to connect, these 5 kids of mine to connect and to encourage one another and build one another up and it's great. The fellowship is just amazing. I love it. God's in the middle of it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you get to watch that and His fingerprints in it all. And it really does. Just like what you were saying, it just makes us so thankful for what He's doing and how He's watching over us and protecting us. It really is. It's really neat.
And people tell me religion's hard. It's a hard life. I say, it isn't. Not to me anyhow. I have, I've told Ted this 2 or 3 times, 3 things in my mind every day is what I just said, praise God, If it didn't, I'll never say it again. Is what I'm doing pleasing God? If it doesn't, I'll never do it again. And what I'm thinking, is that please God? If it I had a 39 Hudson. It was about as big as this bar. Fenders on it like this table. Do you remember wet clutches?
Oh, yeah, mine's got a wet clutch, yeah.
I didn't know it still had it. It had the wet clutch, and I didn't know that at the time. And I was using the cars in front of me to stop all the time. Nothing on the clutch, and you're trying to get out of gear. I hit 3 or 4 of them. The guy told me you got to put fluid in the clutch. What are you talking about?
You sure that was root beer you was drinking?
Well, the same car, the same problem. The heater would not heat. I couldn't get any heat out of it in the winter. So I took the heater out and I put in a gasoline heater.
Oh, yeah.
And that worked fine for a while, and they quit working. And the guy said, well, why did you take the regular heater out? I said, it never threw out any heat. He said, you keep the cowl open? I said, well, he said, you keep the cowl open to bring the air in to blow the heat through the heater? I said, no. He said, that's why you got no heat.
Oh.
I don't know, had to have the cowl open to blow the air across the heater and get the heat in.
Oh, B.
Oh my.
I said, well, I don't think I should own a Hudson. I don't know enough about them.
Well, you and I are the only 2 people here who know what a wet clutch is.
Well, he didn't, and you know. And
No, I did not. No, that's for certain.
I still don't know.
Yeah.
that cork, I don't know what it did do, but it didn't do it.
I love the part where you use the cars in front of you and stuff.
I hit one car on Main Street, driving right by the suspension bridge one night. Pushed that clutch in and no clutch. Bang!
It probably didn't even scratch it, did it?
No, not really. That was an old timer.
That's great.
Yeah, these days it would fold up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Airbags deploy all around you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no seat belts, let alone airbags.
Yeah.
Your steering wheel was your airbag.
It was as big as that table,
Yeah,
seemed to me.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Wayne tells stories of your first car, Wayne.
33 Rio.
Yeah, see, he knows, he remembers.
33 Rio vehicle.
Yeah, you didn't have it very long, did you?
Mama said get rid. I got rid.
Yeah. You bought it, well, how many friends did you purchase it
Well, it was
with?
about 4 of us went together. I think we paid all the $200 for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a good car.
Yeah. Mother said, my week to have it at home. So we had to pass it around. What's that car doing in front? I said, mine. What? That's mine. No, it's not. Yes, no, it's not. No, it's not one out. I had to sell my half back to him.
She wasn't having it.
She would not have it.
Carrie Marie wasn't having
Carrie
it.
Marie would have no parts of that or Hollow Rock.
Hollow Rock, you're gonna have to explain to him maybe what Hollow Rock is. We've laughed about this. This is a standing joke with us, but,
My mother was Christian as could be, and nothing went right if it wasn't. Anyhow, my dad was just the opposite. This week he's going to church, next week he don't believe in it. You know, one of those kind. And he would carry whiskey home with him, and she would find it, dump it in the sink, throw the bottle away. I used to say, what are you doing that for? Let him drink it at home, we'll know where he's at, you know. There'll be no liquor in this house.
yeah.
And I found his bottle one day and I re-hit it so she couldn't find it. I'm reading the label, it was Hollow Rock. The name of the whiskey is Hollow Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, God's built on solid rock, all these things going through Hollow Rock. He looked it up, finally found a bottle of them
Yeah, we
today.
did. Yeah, we looked it up
Just
today.
for the labels, $95. Just
Yeah,
the
just
label.
for an old bottle with the label on it. It was on like eBay or something, yeah. It was great,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, we probably should wrap up anyway, but we're
Yeah,
a little bit past time, but that's okay. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
yeah, I knew it would be, yeah.
great, yeah.
Thanks, Chad, for the idea. You'd mentioned.
Yeah.
Getting him
Yeah,
on
we
and,
were gonna, what were we gonna call this? Wisdom with Wayne.
Wisdom, well, yeah, I have a story about that. I did when I'd asked him about that, and I told him wisdom with Wayne, and he kind of chuckled and said, well, more like windy with Wayne.
Well, he fits in good with this.
Well, I want to tell you, gentlemen, and I call you that because you know who you are. I'm blessed by being here. I'm blessed to have met you, and I'm blessed to continue being with you.
All right.
Yeah.
If it's your will and pleasure.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks,
Yeah.
thanks,
Absolutely.
Wayne. Thanks for joining us. It's
You're
an honor.
now,
Thank you so
you're now
much.
a part of my prayers.
Oh,
Thank you.
And likewise,
Thank
likewise. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. And we're gonna teach Chad what a wet clutch is.
Do that.
That's great.
Yep.
All right, well, we will definitely do this again sometime.
Yep.
But next week, the three of us will be back. We're going to try something a little different next week.
We're really shaking things up, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And we'll see how it
Yes.
goes. It may just be the two of you, but we'll try it. And we'll try it anyway.
It'll work
That's a
out.
surprise for next
Yes.
week.
Yep.
Yeah.
But thanks for joining in, everyone.
Absolutely. I hope you were up.
Bye.